Me and C back, but we got another special guest in the building. I'm gonna just call him T, but Mr. Tegan, what's going on?
How you doing?
A lot
Good
of
to be
people
here.
don't know that Tegan. So Tegan is already connected with Charleston.
He's a cop. No, he's a former cop.
There's a big difference.
Yeah,
We're
former
already
cop.
headed down a fork in the road already.
But
Yeah.
you know the thing about it, I was kicking it with you, and you actually was born here in Detroit.
I was, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a Motor City madman.
yeah, born here in Detroit, but you down in Texas.
Yeah.
And you got an interesting story, so I definitely wanted to make sure that you was here, because I seen a lot of what you were talking about specifically with Charleston, and then you got the book Life in a Fishbowl. But a lot of people, I think, is still yet to hear a lot of what it is that you need to communicate to the world,
Yeah.
as far as what your experiences are in law enforcement, and then specifically how that's affected a lot of the different people that you maybe impact in their lives, whether it's on one side or the other, right? So
For sure.
definitely want to mine that out. But kind of give us a general idea of where you come from, or why you even decided to write this book, Life in a Fishbowl, in the first place.
I mean, I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest, but, originally my whole life was spent setting myself up to be a rock star. That's what I was supposed to be first. Since the fourth grade. I mean, I was playing multiracial clubs. I was the minority in all the bands that I played in. We'd go to the ward in Houston and rehearse and everything else. I kind of just had a great familiarity and a great exposure to different cultures and stuff as a kid playing music in these clubs that I wasn't even close to old enough to play in.
And that's down in Texas?
I was down in Texas.
Okay.
I did some work up in the eventually did some work up in the Poconos too, doing the Little Caesars Resort circuit with some kind of cheesy so band stuff,
Yeah.
open up for some of those cats. But for the most part, when I got burnt on the music industry itself, I mean, my son was born, and then I started questioning whether or not I wanted to continue in music. And I hadn't the slightest idea what I was going to do. It was almost an advantageous position to be in because I'd never thought about anything else except music until that very moment. So it was almost like everything was open to me, as opposed to these different roads you go down with degrees and different things, or people influencing you to do different things. So I used to have these cops that used to come out and follow one of my bands, and they suggested just having that conversation, carrying them to their car after the gig, and they suggested cop work. Never had thought about it before. I went home and I actually started thinking, that sounds like really exciting, really interesting. It's just something I'd never thought of. So I cut 8 inches of hair off, and in my first shot, got on the PD.
You had hair down your back?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had hair all the way down my back, man. And I got pictures, but, that's before the internet. So that's fortunate for me, actually. But I was kind of fugly. But essentially, I think the fact that I was so green made me good at what I did, because, I had started getting into street martial arts and different things like that, and taking my peace-loving kind of attitude and trying to figure out a way that I could make a better impact. And I thought police work would be a great way to do that. And it turned out to be something that was more impactful than I thought. But I ended up being really good at a lot of the things that they put in front of me, because I, otherwise had no experience. So I went into this only with the experience of being around. I was in music school with a bunch of art students and musicians and stuff, and spent time, touring on the road. So I was used to being around dope and people that did it, and people that congregated with different attitudes and different cultures and different things. So I knew I had something to offer to police work, because I was also the dude that got pulled over all the time
With the long hair. Yeah. Racially profiled, stereotype.
Apart, they pull all my instruments out in the middle of the freeway, and they just leave me. When they find nothing, they just leave me out there 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to get home. So ultimately, it really was about trying to do something exciting. And so I thought narc work was going to be it, just because I'd done all this musician stuff, and I just thought that's kind of a vibe I could fit into. And ultimately, it turned out to be gang work leveraging dope. So essentially, it was a a really bad part of town that the cops deemed the fishbowl because it was one way in, one way out, just a few square
What city?
block
What
area.
city is this
This is in
specifically?
Fort Worth, Texas.
My town.
Okay,
Yeah, my
so
town.
Fort
Fort
Worth.
Worth,
So
Texas.
you never was a traffic cop.
Well, everybody has to start on patrol. But again, that was part of my terror because I was like, man, that's the last thing I want to do. When they suggest cop work, is like the last thing I want to do is go be a patrolman and pull people over because I hated being pulled over.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is that once you get over the fact that that's where you have to start, everybody has to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I actually worked a lot down in that same hood that I ended up going undercover in. Of course, my hair all shaved off. I looked a little different, but it was an opportunity to be kind to people and treat them the way I wanted to be treated. And it really wasn't as bad as you think. Although it wasn't my favorite thing to do. It was just happened to be my job, so I did my job. But with the aspiration of being able to go work undercover. So after my fourth swing at it, I made narcotics because, everybody thinks a white stiff's not going to do a whole lot, when it comes to narcotics work, which again is part of the problem.
So did you have any obstacles when you applied for narcotics?
Yeah, without saying so much, it was the fact that I was just a 6'1" bright white dude.
You like a big.
They felt like doing narcotics work meant that you had to go into minority and poor communities, and so which is absolutely not the case. First of all, not only because a white guy can buy from a black guy, but it's also because it's not just black communities that need to have narcotics infiltration. So it really was something that I had to battle in that regard too, because again, the perception is that's one of those stereotypes that carries forward where everybody thinks, well, if we need to hammer the north side and work on some of the Hispanic, issues down there. So they want to, promote some Hispanic guys, but just the fact that they want to target that was part of the problem.
There probably was a time in the 70s and the 80s where no white cop undercover could go into the black community and buy drugs.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, that was a time that would be unheard of.
Well, I can tell you, with the fishbowl in particular, the problem there was gangs. Dope is what fed them. But
What year is this?
this is in 2005 rather. So 2005, I'm working some undercover deals in and around the area, and the problems get all the way to the city council. So the chief's like, hey, spare no expense. We're going to do jump outs. We're going to be writing search warrants. We're leveraging informers. We're going to try to just eradicate
In
all
that
the
one,
problems.
in just in that
And
one
the
area.
fishbowl, yeah. Because
Wow.
What do you mean by the problems get all the way to the city council?
the problems meaning shootings and drug issues?
And that's not a
kids
big
getting
area
trouble.
in the city. That's just small. That's like a little small
It's a
neighborhood.
little 6 square block area. Right off
The fishbowl is a 6 square block area.
Yeah.